Hey friends, I'm so happy to finally be back here. This was originally Marketing Advice Monday, and this week we're having Marketing Advice Thursday. Thank you for your flexibility and understanding. I came down with some gross bug earlier this week, but unfortunately feeling a lot better and am excited to be hopping back on. I had this special event in Cindy's group last week, if you were able to join that there, where we talked all things marketing. Is over an hour long, a really great discussion. So be sure you hop over there to revisit that if you didn't have a chance. But today we're diving into the 3 ways to tell if your niche is working. It looks like we have a couple people joining us. Emily, Andrea, thanks for being here. If you are watching live, say hello in the comments. You know that I love interaction and to chat with you guys here. If you're catching the replay, maybe Mondays work better for you and you're busy this Thursday night, just drop a hashtag replay into the comments to make sure I can see any questions you have and make sure that we're answering any thoughts that are coming to mind as you're watching this. I've been talking with clients a lot lately about niches, something that I discussed with Cindy last week. So I think this is a really, really timely discussion. I'm excited to jump in. Before I do that, maybe you're joining this for the first time because Mondays don't work for you and you're here on a Thursday. So this is your first time joining us. Maybe you're new to the group or it's just the first time you've caught a live. My name's Anna Walker. I am a web and marketing strategist that works with private practitioners just like you to get booked out with clients you love and who love you. That is what I do. And I do that by helping you understand marketing, helping you feel empowered to market yourself in a way that's effective. And this is Bella, our mascot, who always seems to make an appearance in these lives. Hi, sis. So let's go ahead and jump into 3 ways to tell if your niche is working. There is a saying out there. Hey, Andrea, ready for this topic? I'm so glad. I think it's coming at a good time, especially as we're thinking about 2020 and what next year is going to look like, if there are any adjustments you need to make. One of the discussions I had with Cindy last week, and a quote that you may have heard is the riches are in the niches, which you can pronounce niches multiple different ways. I prefer niche, but there's that saying out there. And so as a private practitioner, you've probably wondered if that's true for you. Are the riches really in the niches? Do you need to get really, really specific to be rich? Rich being, of course, any, the type of success that you are searching for and ultimately that you desire. And the fact is, if we're just going to boil this down really, really simply to a single question, do I need a niche? The answer is yes. What's not super clear is how broad or how narrow that niche needs to be. Because not every niche is created equal. There are some private practitioners that serve broader audiences that are still sort of focused and are very, very successful. There are other private practitioners who are incredibly focused on a specific age group and a specific specialty and a specific modality and are fully booked out and very successful. So we know that not all niches are created equal. The very first thing that plays into that, this is actually just before I even get into the 3 ways to tell if your niche is working, it depends on your area because your niches exist to serve a client base. Now, if the client base doesn't exist where you live, then we know your niche isn't going to work. So if you are a private practitioner in a more rural area, maybe you're in a small town. I grew up in a town of like 3,000 people. I think there were 2 counselors who served just about anyone. Their niche was a lot more broad. Now, if you live in a metropolitan area, one of the private practitioners I spoke with last week is in Chicago. It is super, super saturated. There are thousands of private practitioners there. You're going to have to be more focused. The reason for that is because in a place like Chicago or Manhattan or Philadelphia or Nashville, where I live, where there are a lot more private practitioners, your client base is a lot bigger. And people are going to be a little bit more picky about who they choose to go to. Whereas if you practice in a more rural area, people are just looking for someone that will offer them what they're looking for, right? They know that they can't afford to be as picky because there simply aren't as many of you. So that's the first thing to think about as you're considering a niche, especially if you're thinking about launching a private practice in 2020. As you think about a niche, first think about where your private practice is going to exist. If it's in a more rural area, you're probably going to need a broader niche. If you're in a very metropolitan area, a really concentrated, saturated area, it's going to need to be more narrow. So that's the first thing, just kind of a basic concept when it comes to niching that I want you to think about. But now let's get into the 3 ways to tell if your niche is actually working. So this assumes that you've picked a niche or maybe you're doing the hard work of niching down. And this is to decide, okay, am I actually doing something that is going to bring me clients that I love, and ultimately help me create the life and the income and the lifestyle that I'm looking for. The first one, and this sort of ties into this point I just made around location, is that you're meeting a need that you know exists. So obviously there have to be the clients out there. You need to have people in your area. Say if you're a private practitioner who works teenagers with ADHD, you need to make sure, of course, that there are those clients out there. So the first way to tell if your niche is working is if you're meeting a need you know exists. Now, the easiest way to tell if this is true for you is to see if anyone else is doing it. It's really good to be unique, right? I want you to be unique in the way you message yourself. I want your website to be unique. I want you to be unique in a lot of ways. But when it comes to niching, you don't want to be too unique, because being too unique means you have stepped into a space that no one else has dared yet fill. Sometimes that risk is worth it, and you end up having a client base that is very sustainable. But a lot of times, if someone isn't as niche down as you, or isn't serving the population you're serving in your area in some way, shape, or form, it's because the need isn't there. And of course, if the need isn't there, you're not going to be able to meet it at a level that you need to meet it in order to pay your bills and make the income and live the life that you want to live. So that first one is all around meeting a need that you know exists. The easiest way to do that is to do a little bit of research on, is anyone else in my area actually doing these things? This means looking at, search engine results. When you type in your niche into Google or into Bing or another search engine, are private practices coming up? When you're browsing Psychology Today, are other people doing that? It's not to say that you want to pick something that everyone else is doing, but if there are a handful of private practitioners in your area that are also doing something, that's healthy competition. I don't like to think about other private practices as competition, because all you're really out to do, each and every one of you, is make people's lives better. But if there are other people in your space, that means that there's a need that you can meet. So if you're thinking about if a niche is working, and you know, first of all, that you're meeting a need you know exists, then we can head to the second point. That second point is that, surprise, surprise, you're getting clients, right? If you're not getting clients, your niche may be the problem. So I want you to take a look at your current results, how things are working since you've been in the niche that you're being in, or that you're in. If instead you're starting your private practice, then I want you to take a look at, and maybe speak to an advisor or supervisor, something like that, any colleagues that you have in your space, and try to understand if they're getting the results that they need in order to have a sustainable life, right? So you know that you're getting traffic to your website, hopefully, and hopefully you have Google Analytics installed in your website. I'm not going to get super technical here, but if you have Google Analytics or something similar, if you're on Squarespace actually has its own little analytics section in the back end of your website. But if you can just take a look at how many people are coming to your website, and then take a look at how many clients you're booking over the course of, we would say, between 4 to 6 weeks, how many clients you're getting, how many people are landing on your website. If you divide that number of clients divided by number of people landing there, we want that number to be around 6%. That might feel a little bit high, that might feel a little bit low, but 6% is kind of a threshold to let us know, okay, my website is as effective as it needs to be, and is serving a large enough audience that 6% of the people that land on my website are reaching out to me, or at least are scheduling a consult call or something like that with me. If that's not the case, if you tap into the back end of your website or your Google Analytics and you see that a lot of people are landing on your site, but very few are calling, or that very few are landing on your website, then one thing we need to think about, and of course this is a combination of a lot of things, but one thing we need to think about is your niche too narrow? Are you too focused on people and therefore excluding a larger population that you could be serving? I know this feels a little bit, normally we don't get into like back ends of websites here, but this is actually a really, really powerful metric that you can track over time. You can take a look at July of this year and take a look at the number of people that visited you and the number of consult calls and new clients that you had. You can take a look at now. Is that increasing? That's a good sign, right? That tells us that our marketing is working, that your niche is resonating, all of those kinds of things. So those first 2 ways to tell if your niche is working. Number 1, you're meeting a need that you know exists. You can prove that there is a need that you can go out and meet with your niche. Number 2, you're getting clients. And you know this by you're getting clients. If you're totally full and things are going really well, you know that your niche is resonating. If you're not quite there and you're not fully booked, then you take a look at your website analytics. You take a look at the number of consult calls you're having per month, and that gives you kind of a grade on how well your niche is resonating with people. The third way to tell if your niche is working is not about marketing at all. It's about the fact that you are fulfilled and energized by your work. I know that a lot of times for private practitioners, selecting a niche is actually really, really hard because you feel like A, you're committing to something for the rest of your career, and B, you're excluding other populations that you do enjoy. And the fact is that just because you claim a niche doesn't mean you won't get people outside of it. It just means that you're showing your ideal client that you're focused on them. It's not to say that if you serve teenagers with ADHD, that a 10-year-old might come in, or that a 22-year-old might come in, right? You might get some of those people on the fringe of your niche, but by having a niche, you claim expertise and you show people, hey, I know what I'm talking about. You can trust me to help you solve your problems. But if you've claimed a niche, you're meeting a need that you know exists, you're getting clients, and yet every single client is draining you of your energy, you don't feel fulfilled in the work that you do, you don't feel comfortable or confident in the work that you're doing, then it's the wrong niche for you. It might mean that you need to add on another niche. You can absolutely be a successful private practitioner with more than one niche. But if you're not feeling fulfilled, if you're feeling totally drained and unenergized after you meet with the clients that actually fit the ideal client of your niche, then you need to think about making some adjustments. Maybe it's as simple as changing up your age group. Maybe you thought that you liked teenagers with ADHD, but in fact, it is adults that you resonate a lot more with. Maybe ADHD is not your sweet spot. Whatever that may be, take a minute to check in with yourself and ask yourself, am I being fulfilled here? On the flip side, if you're thinking about opening up a practice next year and you're picking a niche, think about the clients you've served in the past that have been the most energizing. That is a really great place to start thinking about what niche is going to be best for you. Because we know that the quality of the work that you do depends on the energy you have and the confidence and the joy you get out of it. And it is absolutely okay if you pick a niche because selfishly you enjoy it that much. Because that just means that you're going to turn around and you're going to pour that back into your clients in the way that they're looking for. So this one's kind of twofold. If you have been in practice for a while and you're gauging whether your niche is working, then it's great to ask yourself to take a minute to check in. Am I energized by my work? And if I'm not, maybe I need to make some adjustments. If you're just starting out, you can ask yourself, who has energized me in the past? And that can inspire the niche that you ultimately decide to choose for your practice. So that's a really simple way to think about how effective your niche is, but something that I think a lot of private practitioners don't do because they think that if they selected a niche in the past, they can't change it, which is untrue, or that just because they like someone doesn't mean that they can serve them for the rest of their career. Now, if you served a 12-year-old with ADHD and depression whose parents were divorced and had a, severe trauma growing up, doesn't mean your niche has to be all of those things. But if you can start, identifying a red thread between all of those clients that you enjoy most, you will start to see a couple things rise to the surface, and that ultimately can be your niche or your niches. So the 3 ways to tell if your niche is working. Number 1, you're meeting a need that you know exists. Number 2, you're getting clients. And number 3, you feel energized and fulfilled by your work. If the answer to any of these or all of these or some of these is no, I'm not doing those things, I don't feel that way, I'm not getting clients, then what do you do? 2 things. Number 1, before you make any adjustments, unless you're unfulfilled, then I want you to skip to the second one. But if the problem is either that you don't think you're meeting a need that you know exists or that you're not getting enough clients, before you go ahead and scratch your niche and start re-niching, I want you instead to get clearer. Too often, I have looked at hundreds of private practice websites. Too often that my own clients, when we start working together, one of the questions I'll ask them in kind of our kickoff questionnaire and that kind of thing, well, what's your niche? Who do you serve? They'll tell me, and then I'll go visit their website with totally fresh eyes. I'll be a brand new person. And seriously, 9 out of 10 times, I can't actually tell that's the niche that they're in. So get clear, talk about your niche. Once you know what it is, talk about it. People should be able to land on your website, visit your Psychology Today profile, talk to you in person, and be able to tell you back what your niche is. If that's not the case, if people are leaving your website not knowing, if you're not calling out explicitly who it is that you serve and what your specialties are in your Psychology Today profile, you will lose people because they won't know that you're the expert they're looking for. They should be able to tell themselves that they're in the right place and that you are the neurosurgeon of their needs, right? You're not a general surgeon, you're a neurosurgeon. You're the person that's going to help them become the person that they want to be and solve this problem that they've identified in their own life. So that first thing, get clear. I want you to talk about your niche. Something that we talk about a lot in this group is about creating a messaging framework. Those seem like really fancy words. Basically, a messaging framework is 3 really key critical elements that you can repeat everywhere throughout your marketing. Those 3 things are a practice promise, which is a single statement that states exactly what it is that you do and the results that you provide. Number 2 is a positioning statement, which tells someone what it is that makes you unique and why you're different and ultimately better than some of the other practitioners in your area. And then number 3, an elevator pitch, which is a set of 3 to 4 paragraphs. That's kind of your longer about me. It's a little bit more meaty. It's where you talk about the place that your clients usually come to you in and the place that they ultimately leave you in, the results that you provide, and what they can do to actually engage and take the next step. If you think about talking about your niche in a couple of just really critical statements like that, those statements can be repeated everywhere. If you write yourself a practice promise or you write yourself a positioning statement, that should go on your website. That should go on your Psychology Today profile. You should use that when speaking to people, doctors, other practitioners, pastors in your area, whatever that may be. You can start to repeat these things because people need to know what your niche is. I want you to talk about it. So if you were to land on your website as a brand new potential client and it's not immediately clear that you serve teenagers with ADHD, that needs to be clear. Don't worry about being cutesy or trying to be vague or trying to talk about your expertise first. Just say what it is that you do because that is so powerful. And that's exactly what your clients are looking for. They're looking for someone that gets them and that can help them solve the problems that they're experiencing. So the first thing, if you are not meeting a need that you know exists and you are not getting clients, then I want you to first think about getting clear, talking about your niche. Now, if you are not feeling energized and fulfilled or getting clear doesn't work, then it's time to think about modifying your niche. Sometimes that means to go broader and sometimes that means to go more narrow. Usually it means to go more narrow. If you are someone right now that works with adults, teens, and children with depression, anxiety, and grief, we have a lot going on here. And when someone lands on your site, say a adult that's experiencing grief, you also do everything else. How am I to know that you are actually an expert in that one thing? So it could be that we need to go down a level. I would never suggest that you would go from serving 3 different populations with 4 different specialties to serving 1 population with 1 specialty. Make small adjustments. Marketing and all of these concepts that we talk about in this group are supposed to be bite-sized and accessible for you. You do not need to be an expert to do these things, and small adjustments are what's going to really show you results over time. So think about making a small adjustment. If instead you feel like you're not meeting a need that you know exists, you're worried that maybe I'm too narrow, then we go up a level. So if we're using the example of serving teenagers with ADHD, that's very specific. Maybe you need to serve just teenagers. Maybe you need to serve just people with ADHD. That's where we go up a single level. Then you write a couple practice messages like we talked about. You create that messaging framework. You get really clear and talk about that, and you test it again. Anytime you make a really extreme change in your practice, you're never going to know if that extreme change was as effective as you wanted. So instead, I really encourage you to make small adjustments to your niche, to your website, to any of this, because that's what's going to show you if something is working or not. If you go from teenagers with ADHD to just teenagers and it doesn't quite resonate, Maybe you decide, okay, I'm going to do just anyone with ADHD, and that does resonate. Okay, then you know that the need out there is ADHD, despite or regardless of age group. That's where if you make those small adjustments, it's less effort for you, right? You don't have to re-message everything and get new pictures and talk to new people and create new connections. You can just make one small adjustment and see if it works. That will make it so much simpler for you. And it means that you don't have to wait for 6 months to make sure everything's okay. You can make a change and then in 4 to 6 weeks, check out your Google Analytics or your website traffic. Take a look at the consult calls that you're booking. That's where you can start to say, hey, am I growing? Are things increasing? Am I feeling more fulfilled? Check, check, check. You know you're in a good spot. So the 3 ways to tell if your niche is working, let's revisit those again. Number 1, you're meeting a need that you know exists. Number 2, you're getting clients. Number 3, you feel energized and fulfilled. If the answer to all 3 of these things is not yes, then what do we do? Number 1, first of all, we try getting clear. Talk about your niche. Make it so simple and clear that anyone who lands on your website or that talks to you or that visits your Psychology Today profile can tell. If that doesn't work, then we need to think about going broader or going narrower, depending on what kind of our symptoms are. And we'll always only adjust 1 level up or 1 level down. Never, unless you really feel like you want to totally revamp everything and start from scratch, never feel like you need to start all over and scrap everything. Small adjustments add up to big results over time. Let me make sure we don't have any questions here in the comments. Awesome. Okay, so those are the 3 things. Those are my 2 suggestions if you're feeling like maybe your niche isn't right for you. But I would love to talk one-on-one if you'd like. I offer a totally free 30-minute strategy session if you're kind of toying with your niche and want to bounce your questions off of a marketing expert. I'll pop the link here in the comments after this live. And if you have any questions, feel free to also just drop them into the comments here. We can talk back and forth. I'll be hanging around this evening. But I hope this was helpful for you. You know, as you're thinking about 2020 and what your practice is going to look like, it is anchored. Your practice and its success is anchored in your niche and your ability to talk about it. So hopefully these things were helpful for you. I'm so excited to finally be back on live with you guys. And I will be back, assuming I don't get sick again, on Monday for our Real Marketing Advice Monday at its regularly scheduled time. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll talk soon.